could not mean any good as it stopped there, on Mama's swept yard beside the boxwoods. Those two men walked across the ground she'd swept so careful, and I wished I could close my eyes and make them go away. We'd read in the paper about two men coming to deliver bad news from the war. It made me cold in the belly to see them, and then it made me mad. I wanted to fling open the kitchen door and tell them to go away. They had no business coming on us all of a sudden like this. I wanted to tell them to go back in their black car and drive back to town or some army base or Washington, D.C., or wherever they'd come from. They knocked on the kitchen door, and when I opened it, the taller one said, "Is Mr. Hank Richards here?" "No, he ain't," I said. The truth was, Papa was out cutting firewood on the Squirrel Hill with my brother Velmer. "Is Mrs. Richards here?" the second man said. He took off his army cap and put it under his arm. "No, I'll see," I said, trying to think of some way to keep Mama from having to see them. But the other man took off his cap and looked past me. I turned and seen Mama standing right behind me in the light from the door. "Ma'am, I'm awfully sorry to be the one to bring you this news," he said, and handed Mama a tan envelope. Mama held the envelope a minute without opening it, then handed it to me. As I ripped open the paper and looked at the telegram, I told myself this was a mistake. We'd read in the paper about men reported killed, who later turned up wounded in a hospital or lost from their unit. The telegram was words printed on paper ribbons pasted to the page. "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Richards, it is with profound regret I report your son, Troy Richards, serial number 34119284, lost in the crash of a B-17 heavy bomber on November 10th, 1943, near the village of I, in East Anglia. Stop. A grateful nation mourns the loss of your son, whose sacrifice for his country will never be forgotten." I read the words glued to the page to Mama, and she just stared at the door like she didn't see nothing. "Ma'am, if there's anything we can do for you, just let us know," the tall man said. But Mama had already turned away from him. I thought she was going back to the fire in the living room, but she didn't. Instead, she walked to the far side of the kitchen and sat down in the chair by the bread safe. The two men said more things. They talked real gentle, like they was truly sad, and asked again if there was anything they could do. I reckon it was what they done every day, going around and delivering those telegrams and telling people how sorry they was. Finally, they said a letter would be coming in the mail, along with a box of Troy's personal effects. And then they put on their caps and walked slow back to the car and drove away. "Mama, you go back to the fire. You'll get cold sitting in here," I said. But she didn't answer. She just sat in that chair by the bread safe, looking down at her hands clasped on her apron. I still held the telegram and didn't know where to throw it down on the floor or fold it back up in the envelope it come in. "Go tell Hank," Mama said. "I don't want to leave you," I said. Mama's face looked gray, the way somebody with a bad heart looks. "I can make you some coffee," I said. "You go on," Mama said. "I'll be fine." She waved me away. I put on a jacket and tied a scarf around my hair. Clutching the envelope, I stepped out into the chilly breeze. Chickens scratched around the edges of the yard. The cotton mill whistle sounded 3 miles away. It was the end of the first shift. I wished Muir...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.